Alors maintenant, M. Martin va prendre quelques questions. So now we will have a couple of questions. Okay.
Wow, I'm lucky. About a year ago, Mr. Mulroney was here, then Mr. Chrétien, a good friend, and yourself, former prime ministers. You all continue to work after you were prime ministers. You're in your 60s, you all have money. Why? Where do you get your energy?
Well, you know, I think that it's an interesting question, and it's one that really goes beyond partisanship. I think you do go into public life because you believe certain things. And I would say this to the young people who are here. Well, everybody here is younger than me. But it is, if there is no vocation that I think that can give you the kind of satisfaction that contributing yourselves to the public service can give. And I think that because you're out of politics, if what brought you into politics is the desire to serve people, then there's no reason why that wouldn't continue after you leave politics. It's certainly what I believe, and I'm sure that's the reason that Mr. Mulroney, that Mr. Chrétien continue on as they have, and it's a very good question. Thank you.
I'll be right back.
As of today, there's 526 architects and engineers that are asking the U.S. government to open up a new investigation into 9/11. Did you know that there's millions of Americans and Canadians are asking the government to open up a new investigation into 9/11? Do you support a new investigation into 9/11, sir?
You know, it's interesting. There are a couple of questions, and it may happen here, that have been quite consistent wherever I've gone. And obviously, and I think it's a good thing. I think that when you feel strongly about something, the ability to organize to have it happen. And the basic question is, do I believe that a series of explosives in the World Trade Center are what in fact led to it? And I guess the answer to the question is no, I don't. I mean, I, along with most people here, basically saw on television those planes going into the World Trade Center. And it's pretty clear to me that the reason that it happened were those planes that went into the World Trade Center. And so I really find it very difficult to believe any other kind of a theory.
Okay, but if I have all the evidence here, can I give you a copy of
it? You can certainly give it to me, but you're going to find it a very difficult thing for me to convince that my own eyes were wrong when I saw on television that terrible, terrible day.
But there's still 526 architects and engineers.
Thank you, sir. Next question.
Mr. Martin, after you spoke about and you wrote about your experience during the referenda, as a member of Parliament from Quebec, would you have resigned as Minister of Finance if the yes vote had won that day?
Well, I'm not going to answer a hypothetical question. I've got to say that I worked very hard in that. That was probably the longest night of my life. But one of the things of which I am immensely glad and immensely proud of is the fact that we won that referendum that night, and that in fact this country stayed united, and I believe it's going to stay united. It's not ever going to break apart.
Monsieur Martin, j'ai toujours apprécié votre capacité de combiner, je dirais, toutes les qualités par rapport à l'entreprise, les finances et aussi le côté social, ce que vous avez fait pour les Amérindiens. Il y a une chose un petit peu moins sérieuse, mais quand même importante. Je ne me trompe pas, vous avez, lors d'un congrès libéral, invité Bono à adresser les congressistes. Je serais très curieux de savoir comment ça a démarré, les petits insights qui pourraient nous amuser là, par rapport à cette belle initiative que vous avez prise.
Just for those of you who may not speak French, the question was, Mr. Martin, how did you write such an absolutely brilliant book? La question était sur Bono. La question a été comment est-ce qu'on l'a engagé à venir lors du congrès. Moi, j'ai rencontré Bono le jour aux réunions du Fonds monétaire international en Tchécoslovaquie. Où j'ai pris vraiment une position de libre pour pardonner les dettes des pays africains, les dettes canadiennes des pays africains. Alors il est venu me voir, et je dois vous dire que là, dans ces réunions, vous êtes entouré de ministres des Finances, de présidents, de premiers ministres, puis il n'y a personne qui s'intéresse dans les ministres des Finances, les présidents des premiers ministres. Le jour que Bono a rentré dans la salle, je vais vous dire, tout le monde était intéressé. J'ai jamais été aussi populaire avec mes fils que cette journée-là. Mais Bono, c'est quelqu'un qui a vraiment un intérêt fondamental. C'est un musicien, mais il connaît le dossier des pays tiers comme très peu. Alors, je l'ai demandé, j'ai dit, vous viendrez au Congrès, parce qu'on a besoin de quelqu'un de votre envergure qui va en parler. Puis il a accepté comme ça, puis il est venu. Merci.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, have you thought at all of who you're going to endorse at the upcoming Liberal convention?
Let me tell you, I'm going to do everything that I can to help the Liberal Party for as long as I live. I am born a liberal and I will die a liberal. But I've got to tell you, in terms of who's going to be the next leader, I am going to be a spectator at that one. I am an observer of the passing scene. Thank you.
Now we will take one last question. I think you waited a long time.
Yes, my question has to do with the economic crisis we're involved in. Do you think the government, the Canadian government, should be picking which industries, such as the auto, should survive and which ones should fail and disappear?
I think that certainly that the basis of your question is valid in that governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers. The government shouldn't be going in and deciding this one will survive and that one won't. Having said that, I think that there are two instances where the government does have the responsibility to act. One is where your industries are being discriminated against because other countries are supporting the same industry. So in other words, if you have an industry which is competitive, and that industry is suffering because of competition not with foreign industry but with foreign governments, then I think our government has to act. The second area is where there are some industries which are so fundamental to the strength of your sector. As an example, the automobile industry, which is so fundamental to the strength of our manufacturing industry. There are so many jobs that are involved. I believe that if the Americans act as President-elect Obama has said they're going to act, I believe that the Canadian government absolutely has a responsibility to act to make sure that our automobile industry is not discriminated against and that it survives. It is so important to the province of Ontario, and it is so important to so many Canadians. The questions have been cut off. I got to tell you, I could continue with the questions all night. One of the things about being a former Prime Minister, nobody ever asks me to speak anymore. I love this, but let me just say to you once again, thank you very, very much. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for being here. Let's get on. Thanks again.